Peace, family. When I look at the country that we live in, the world that we live in, the president that sits in authority right now, I ask myself, how on earth did we get like this? And I've asked myself this question many times before, and I think this answer here is about the best one I've come up with. And that answer is this. First of all, let me ask you, where would you be right now if you didn't have the adversity that you went through in your life? Where would you be right now, spiritually, physically, if you did not have to deal with the adversity that you went through to get to the point in life that you are in right now? Where would you be? And see, I say that to say this. When you look at a boxer and his record, you want to be undefeated, of course. But is an undefeated record better than a boxer who has a few losses on his belt? The argument can be made for both. But to me, in my opinion, I would give the nod to the boxer who suffered a few defeats. And why is that? Because, see, in defeat, you have opportunity to reassess. In defeat, you have the opportunity to re-examine where you are and where you want to be at, and give you something to fight for. Now, take Lennox Lewis, for example. I think his record was like some 41, 2-1, and compare it to Floyd Mayweather, who was 50-0. I would say Lennox Lewis was the better fighter than Floyd Mayweather, because Lennox Lewis went through more adversity. He defeated every fighter that he lost to. He came back and better and improved himself, and defeated the people who defeated him. He was a champion. He was an undisputed heavyweight champion. Floyd Mayweather, he was a great fighter. He fought a lot of good opponents, but he never had to reassess who he was. He never had to come back and fight the guy that beat him. He never was really challenged. This country is a lot like that. This country is 250 years old, and when you look at how they avoided dealing with enslaving Africans, they avoided addressing this issue. They avoided giving blacks our rights, our freedoms, our privileges. Every opportunity that this country had to take accountability for their actions, to take the loss, to go back, reassess who they were, what they wanted to be, and came back better than they were before, they whiffed on it. They passed it by. They never had to go through the trials of reconstructing themselves to be a better version of their country. This is one of the reasons why we're in this situation that we're in right now. And then when you compare that with the fact that you have now elected a president of the United States that has never went through adversity in his life. He never had to be held accountable for his actions. He never had to take atonement. He never had he never sought repentance. He never had to been denied anything he wanted, just about he got. And then when you put him in a position of political power and authority as president of the United States, and he's dealing with countries that's telling him no, this is why you have the inconsistent behavior. This is why you have the adolescent outbreaks. When he sit up here hooping and hollering and making threats and over-exaggerating, and because he's never dealt with this before. He never had it. I'm looking at myself. I know what I went through in life. I know the losses that I went through, that I suffered. I have been put in positions where I was deprived of things, and I deprived myself of things, so that others may flourish, or others may be having to have an advantage because of what I imposed on myself. Going through the adversity that I went through put me in a position at 60 years of age that now I know who I am. I know what I can do. If something is called upon, I know that I either have what it takes to get through it, or I know how to get some help if I need it. Donald Trump ain't never went through anything like that. And see, when you have a system of government and a person of influence that's never had to address their needs and never had to adjust who they were, no checks, no balances, and got through their existence up until this point now, this is why we have what we have. And see, and one of the reasons why we have this is the fact that we have people that support this system of government and people who support people like Donald Trump. And how can you tell the two? You can tell the people who excuse this country for the atrocities that they have by when black people complain about their living conditions, their rights, their privileges, their freedoms, their pay, how they hired, promoted. The first thing they say is, if you don't like it, leave. Don't worry about the country that you pay taxes to. Don't worry about getting your money's worth for your contribution. Don't worry about the people that you sacrifice fighting in the wars. Don't worry about none of that. If you're not happy with what you got, just leave. Don't make this country better. Don't make it address the issues to the point where you're now satisfied. Just leave. And how do you address people? How do you identify people who excuse Donald Trump's behavior? Is when Donald Trump sits up here and make vile threats, when he's rude, obnoxious, accused of sexual assault, whatever it is that Donald Trump does that shows that he's unqualified, how you identify people who are sick to the point that they still support this guy is when they say, well, you know what, I did the same thing. Donald Trump want to grab a woman by the crotch just because he's a celebrity? Who wouldn't want to do that? Donald Trump get divorced 3 times. Well, I've been divorced too. No matter what Donald Trump say or do, somebody makes an excuse for it. It's no better than what they would do. I want Donald Trump cuss, argue, whatever. I want a president that tell it like it is. And you're going to keep excusing this nonsense until they get to the point where now this country is at war, and now there's several other countries involved, and now this person who have never dealt with adversity, never dealt with being deprived, always want to get what he want. Now that because he don't get what he want out of Iran, he's threatening to wipe out the whole civilization, and he's willing to use the military force in order to do it. And like I said in the previous video, when you unleash these merchants, this military force into these foreign countries, and they do things that the public don't know, they cannot deal with this mentally. And when they come back home, you got to pump them up full of drugs to keep them sane, to keep them functioning. Does the movie Rambo mean anything to you? This is what you're going to have when these soldiers follow the orders of a president who has never been had the opportunity to improve on himself, a president of privilege that never had to go to a supermarket, never had to drive himself anywhere, never had to roll his sleeves up and get dirty, never suffered a loss, never improved on his way of life, never made a better version of himself. That's how we got in this position. And the only way we're going to get out of it is we appoint a new system of government that's consistent to our beliefs, our values, our culture, and build new businesses, new industries, and new institutions that respect our way of life. We should not have to be asking for respect, for pay, respect for opportunities. We should be creating it, that we own and we control. you know, it's not going to be handed to us. It has to be made by us. So I'm in this video here, and as always, these are my thoughts, my opinions. I invite you to leave yours in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Ashe.